You're listening to the AdCast with your host, Eric Elliott.
I have a damn legend on the line with me today. A damn legend. Don't laugh at me, Simon. I'm telling the truth. He's a damn legend. In fact, he's a damn James Bond of ad sales. And we're going to talk about that too. So first of all, I want to welcome you guys to the AdCast. This is the podcast for marketers and advertisers. And on this podcast, you're going to hear from successful people just like Simon and owners and operators. And we're going to talk about business, how they operate, how they scale their business, and also my favorite topic, which is marketing. So we're going to talk about all those things, but I want to just, if I could just hit a button and put some applause in here, hopefully Pete will do that in post-production. I want to give like a large round of applause for my man, Mr. Simon Leslie, right here, the founder and CEO of Inc. Simon, how you doing today, man?
I think I'm more of a legend than a legend.
All right, man. So, one thing, like this audience, they're going to come to find out that the majority of them have come across your work. The man holds a damn world record for the amount of publications that have been done. And what Simon's business did, he had Inc. magazine. Inc. reaches a captive audience of hundreds of millions of travelers each year through magazines and also targeted advertising on the web service, which allows them to deliver targeted media into mobile applications. This guy's no joke. I mean, he's been around the block and he knows it. And there's no reason we don't call him the James Bond of advertising for nothing. He knows his shit, right, Simon?
Yes, sir.
Simon, man, thank you for being on the AdCast today, man. Thank you so much, man.
No,
When I started reading about you, I was like, I got to talk to this guy. Like I was telling you, I was like, man, we're booked up. But every time we get, someone interesting we can look into, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, I really want to talk to him. And one of the things that made me really want to talk to you is I think you are one brave SOB. And I'm going to say this. If you guys have not heard of Simon Leslie, you truly are under a rock. And I'm going to let Simon kind of go in and give the intro on who he is and what he's done. But this man had a $100 million plus company. And, like a lot of businesses, COVID changed that. And we're going to talk about how rock bottom can teach you lessons that mountaintops never will. And also, instead of him being the James Bond of ad sales, you're the damn comeback kid. How about that? I'm going to give you that title. You're going to take that with you today, Simon. Okay? So, Simon, for those people who don't know who you are, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Never let a setback stop a comeback.
There you go.
And I'll tell you about the rock bottom sandwich. I don't know where to start. I mean, thank you very much for that intro. It's very kind. It's been an interesting journey. 26-year-old startup that was flying incredibly high. We were this high-performance company doing amazing things. Our teams were traveling around the world. Everyone was making good money. We were breaking records, profits, targets, making more money for airlines than they had ever earned in this sector before.
Wow.
And along comes a pesky pandemic and takes away our legend and takes away the leg of the stool. And the business probably shouldn't have survived. And I think that's the message that you're getting as well. It shouldn't have survived. There was no reason why this business shouldn't have sunk. Let me take you back a little bit on a journey of where I've come from. I had 3 failures before I started Inc. And I think you're right. They taught me the scars, and I've been doing a lot of work because I'm doing quite a lot of talks at the moment. And I started piecing together the journey and joining the dots. Steve Jobs would say, you have to go back and join the dots. My first business was a real estate business. I always wanted to be a real estate agent. No one would give me a job because I was a spotty 17-year-old. So I started my own one. I made enough money, started it. And that coincided with the biggest recession of the 80s in the UK. And what I did was, while everybody else was sort of burying their heads in the sand, I started crafting deals. No one else would get finance, and I would find ways to be creative. And I think now looking back on it, that really helped me with where I am today, and in that ability to just think about situations in a different way, not to just follow the flock, to be a really creative thinker. After that, I went into textiles. Now, you know what? I don't know. I guess I had the gift of the gab and I could sell anything. But then I chose really poor partners and I choose a really poor product for me. Failure number 2. My third business was an advertising business. I was hanging out with Roger Moore, with Shirley Bassey and Joan Collins. You know, these were the biggest stars of the day. And I was hanging around having dinner with these people and I'm thinking, they've got no idea that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just producing this local magazine that they like to see their faces in it. But it was an exciting adventure for an early 20-year-old. Again, another recession came along and my partner decided he wanted to emigrate to Australia. At the very same time, I met my current partner. And that's why partners are important. You know, you have to have good partners. So we've been partners for 28 years. He came along with this tiny airline, probably the smallest airline in the world, one plane, one route, London to Beirut, and said, do you think we can make any money out of this? And I went, it's not great for a nice Jewish boy to go to Beirut anyway, at the best of times. So there you are. I went to Beirut every other month. I was probably, you know, excited and nervous at the same time. I was actually kidnapped at one point by Hezbollah. And
get out of here.
No, that was part of my learning experiences. They thought I was somebody else, but anyway, they let me go. And I just learned haggling. I learned poverty. I saw wealth. I saw so much opportunity. Our second airline was for one in Africa. So I went to Burundi, I went to Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda. So you learn about business in the Middle East and Africa. There is no trick that you do not learn. There is nothing that is going to get past you in life because you're going to learn how you're going to get ripped off, you're going to win, you're going to lose, you're going to have highs, have lows. And then we started to realize, I mean, that was where my appetite for adventure and travel came, you know, seeing all these wonderful places, cultures, food. And then we said, well, let's take on this inflight magazine. Let's make this our baby. And it's funny, I've got a picture of Danica Patrick on the first front cover of Go magazine, which was an airline for AirTran. It was my first airline in the US. I've got to tell you a funny story about this because it just shows you about how you have to take chances. We decided in 2005, we're going to go after the in-flight magazine market. We're going to dominate the space. All the big airlines said, no, you're too small. We're not interested in you. The guy at AirTran said to me, he said, listen, I'm just about to appoint somebody. I said, have you appointed them yet? He goes, no. I said, book lunch tomorrow. I'll be there. He goes, but I'm in Atlanta and you're in London. I said, I'm getting on the plane now. I'll see you for lunch tomorrow. He goes, all right, I won't make a decision till you get here. That's all I needed, my foot in the door. He gave me the contract. It was our best airline. Southwest Airlines eventually bought it. But it was, you know, sometimes you need to be brave in opportunities and take advantage of opportunities when they come and not be scared and go, you know, I could have sat around deliberating with my partners. Should we go? Should we not go? What should we do?
Yeah.
Take your chances when they come.
Now, you said you had 3 failures before it. Now, looking back on it, do you see like you failed forward or you failed?
You know, at the time, it probably felt horrible and I felt devastated and worthless, but actually they were just scars of work. You know, you don't learn anything by succeeding. I don't remember in good times learning very much because, you know, you're too busy patting yourself on the back, telling yourself how great you are and how clever you are.
Damn, isn't that right?
You can't. It's just the momentum will take you. The momentum will take you forward, and momentum and failure are very similar. They both drag you and push you in the wrong direction or the right direction.
Now, you have this title. You know, I want to kind of go into some of that because I think what you said is pretty deep, especially when going around the world and seeing your losses and being able to win and truthfully like saying like, you know, hell, if you can survive there, you can survive anywhere else. I want to talk about some of those Band-Aids and those stitches too, but how did you get that title, the James Bond of sales? How did you get that?
I don't know where that came from. I know that my marketing agency, I think, peddling me as James Bond of sales. I think it was, you know, special forces, Secret Service, the ability to chat about anything, to get in and out of difficult circumstances and situations.
Or it's the Roger Moore.
Maybe it was from Roger in the early days, but it was being able to talk myself out of situations, no matter how, like the Hezbollah, no matter how difficult a situation, I found a way to talk myself out of it. And I like the odd martini as well.
How you've had a career that has spanned decades or even a generation. I mean, how do you stay in business that long, and then how do you continue to evolve? How do you do that, Simon?
I keep asking myself that same question. How the hell am I still here? Because even up to 2019, right? So 2019 was our best ever year. But I'd had 9/11, I'd had 2008, 2012. In 2014, we pressed the self-destruct button by trying to be really clever and digital and overspent. So I'd had 4 or 5 major shocks to the system. So when COVID came along and it was worse than all of those put together times 10, you think, how can I do this again? And I think if you love what you do, and there's this understanding what love really means, because people say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, and it's 100%. Not true. I love playing football, I love playing tennis, but I can't make a living out of them. What I think I worked out was, and this is as I've been joining these dots, is that I love the deal. I love structuring the deal, crafting the deal, making it work for every party involved, putting the deal together. I'm not great at the paperwork. I'm not great at some of the other stuff that goes with it, the production and all that stuff. But I am great at looking at an opportunity, looking at a situation and saying, there's a deal to be had here for everybody. We when we went into COVID, we had a TV network we had invested in 2018 called Reach TV. And it was a small network at the airport. CNN decided to leave the airport network on January 12th, 2021. I remember that day like my birthday. And they told me no, 23 times. No, we're not selling it to you. We're not selling it to you. We're closing it down. We're taking the punt, as they did on CNN Plus. When they're committed to something, they'll close it down as quickly as they like, and no matter what it costs.
Oh yeah.
And I kept challenging them, saying, this just doesn't make any sense. I'm going to save jobs. I'm going to save time. I'm just going to make the situation better. 23 no's I got before we got let me take that back. And I don't think I ever got a yes, by the way. Some people are saying you're going to work till you get a yes. I never got a yes, but we got the deal done. And that was one of the game-changing moments in transforming us from a traditional print publisher to suddenly being, a digital marketeer. And what I did, God,
do you think sometimes you push it too hard?
What, pushing for too many no's?
Yeah. Like whenever you get the no's, like I used to have this thing where I said, man, if it's not going to work, close the door. But do you think you push too hard and sometimes you push too much for your own good?
I think when the answer's no and it's just not going to happen. But there are times when you feel like, I'm sorry, but this idea is too compelling an idea for me to walk away from it. If you can say to me with your hand on your heart that you'd rather fire 30, 40 people, you'd rather write off hundreds of millions of dollars, and there isn't a better solution, then fine. But there is a better solution for everything. There's always a better solution. And I think you've got to have enough conviction in your own beliefs and your own faith in the situation that you think you can go for it. I don't normally get to 23. I'm a 7 plus or minus 2 guy.
Wow. How do you become so brave in doing this? And the reason I led out to this when we first started, because a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, they want to talk about all the wins. They're afraid to talk about the losses or when they hit the bottom. How are you brave enough to openly talk about everything? Because a lot of people, they tuck their tail and then they'll come back whenever they get stronger. But it's almost like you're proud of your losses, not to the point where you can say, oh, look, I lost. But it's like, I learned from that. How did you get so brave to do that, Simon?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I don't think I'm being brave. I think I'm just being honest. I think it's also quite cathartic to be able to say to people, this ain't a one-way street. This is a 10-lane highway and there's cars coming at you in every direction. And what happened, especially during COVID, I started writing down on LinkedIn just my complaints with the world, how people were handling the situation. And I was very, very vocal about how much it was hurting me. And I was getting such amazing feedback from people I didn't know all over the world. Then I'd get emails from people going, this man shared it with me, who shared it with me, who shared it with 1,000 people this morning. And they said, that's what leadership is. And I went, okay, then I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do more of it. Because if you get good feedback from it, you say, well, okay, maybe it's the right thing to do. Because I still don't know if what I'm doing is the right thing to do. The only way you know is if someone says, you know what, I read your book and it was quite useful. Or, I read your book and that was helpful. Yeah. Then you go, okay, I'm going to do more of that. I wrote one book and I'm never writing another book again. I've now done 4.
What are you, what's the feeling like? Tell me about the feeling, because people can talk about the profit and loss statement or the balance sheets and all that other stuff, but business owners are human, entrepreneurs are human, and we feel things. What's that feeling like for you, Simon? What was that feeling like when you were here on the bottom? And then what was that feeling like when you were on the top?
There were so many emotions in between there. Look, our people are not on balance sheet. They're not an asset or a liability. They're a cost, but they're not on any accounts. So you have to treat them like humans. They're part of the team. I would not be here without 14 or 15 individuals who I named personally in the book, because those people sticking by me helped me get through. You know, I had 150 salespeople or 150 people in my team alone. You know, I was down to 60 or 70 at one point. You know, people who'd been with me 2 decades, who'd grown, who'd come from school and now had their own kids at school and had their own property and their own success. That is why I was in business. I wasn't in business, you know, because we were making this much money or that much money. It was what we could do to leave people better than we found them. And I think that's the theme with what you're saying as well. That's why you're being brave, because I'm exposing myself. When people complained about my business on Glassdoor, I attacked Glassdoor, not the people, because I said, you're not doing your job properly. So I went on Glassdoor and I wrote a review. And I said, my time at Glassdoor was wonderful. I never worked at Glassdoor, and they published it. So I said, look, the system's broken. It's not the people. I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm taking the criticism. I didn't do a good job. And there are lots of people I didn't do a good job for because my business wasn't set up for them. I hired wrong, and I had lots of young people who'd come through the ranks who were inexperienced in managing people. I accept it. You know, you've got to accept your flaws, because if you don't do that, then you're not going to get better. I want to get better every day. People say, well, who do you learn from? I learn from the new kids who are coming in every day. They're teaching me stuff. I had no idea of. I'm not one of these people who are sitting there going, oh, mate, I know it all. Don't worry about me. I know everything. I start every day with the feeling is I know nothing, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to improve on that position by the end of today.
I think that's a sign of a good leader. You got to learn to listen, because you don't know everything as a leader. You truly don't. You can, like you said, I think the same thing in our business too. I learned from a lot of the younger people coming up. And if anything, I try and coach them to help get them some patience and have patience to be able to get some experience under their belt, you know? But the truth is as a leader, I have to be able to listen to them, hear what they say, because they're in touch with the world that I have no idea about.
I always start every talk now starts with this. Listen, I don't care if you bought the VIP seats. I don't care if you bought the cheap seats. What I want you to do is think about your seat, and you have to have a VIP listening experience. They cost the same as all the other seats, but the way you listen is so important, because people do not listen. They go, yeah, and they're distracted. They're on the phone. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're not focusing. Nobody is really good at actually sitting there and going, where are my feet? What am I doing? How can I be the best dad, the best brother, the best auntie, the best boss? You know, I've had people in here and I'm coaching them and they're on the phone and I'm like, all right, I'm just wasting my time. I want to give you the best. I want to be the best podcast guest you've had. I want to give you value so your listeners will go, this guy gets great guests. This guy gets great information. That's what I've got to do right now. That's the only thing that's important to me right now. And I've got to listen to your questions so I understand them. So I make sure that I give you the right information too.
Well, what do you think are some attributes of a great leader? I mean, you ran a good company. You're still leading now. I mean, what do you think are some attributes that some leaders should have?
I had lots of bad leaders. I had lots of bad bosses. And do you know what? I learned more from them than I did from the good bosses. A good boss.
Do tell.
Tell me what a good boss is. A good boss is someone who listens to you, someone that doesn't push you, that someone doesn't, that never gives you a hard time, doesn't worry you, doesn't ring you at the weekend, that's a great boss, right? Absolutely not. A great boss is going to work out how good you can be and drive you to get you there. Because you don't know how good you can be. Only somebody who's been where you want to go knows how good you can be and how much potential you've got. I see these kids coming in. I say to them, look, you have so much potential. You have so much ability. Let me bring it out of you. Yeah, but I only want to do it from 9 to 5. Yeah, and please, don't text me.
Damn.
It's my
damn. Were you in my damn sales meetings? Were you in my meeting, Simon, with the stuff that you're saying right now? I mean, carry on. I didn't mean to interrupt. Carry on. I mean, that's so truthful.
We're cut from the same cloth, right? We want to make people better. If we're not making people better, then what are we here? How can you be a good leader? Oh, yes, my staff love me. I get amazing reviews in the 360. Oh, they just say that, I've got sweets and chocolates and biscuits and crisps. I've got a juicer. I've got a coffee machine. I've got a toast maker. I've got toasters. I've got the latest beans from wherever they've come from. I've got sofas. My office looks like a 5-star hotel, I was told yesterday. It's a cross between Soho House meets, the Edition. And I'm like, I've got everything. But you know what? Well, I haven't got people who want to fight with me right now. I haven't got enough of them because we lost so many of them in this pandemic. And that's my job now. I have two things. I've got to look for amazing opportunities for the business to grow and find amazing people to join our band of merry men. So
now let's talk about how everything happened, with COVID and all. Because you got to think, you are doing print magazines. And in doing so, there's a lot of things that you kind of had to front pay or put out there or get done and then kind of wait on your money. And then here comes this thing out of nowhere. Everything's grounded. What is that like? Because at some point you're investing, you're spending on expenses. And then, the typical business wheel is you put it out, it's coming back. But then it didn't come back. So what was that like for you?
I've got one word: expensive. We got to March 9th, which is my wedding anniversary. That's why I remember it so well. And the airlines started phoning up saying, hey, we're going to take these magazines off the plane. They could pass COVID. We don't know. They could be dirty. Mm-hmm. I went, okay, let's hope there's not too many of them. And literally by the end of the month, they'd all taken the magazines off the planes. Every one of those magazines we paid for, we printed, we paid for all the editorial, we paid for all the distribution, we'd flown them to wherever they needed to get to. And we're producing millions of magazines every single month. Mm-hmm. So we were on track to do about 150 million in 2020. And we went not just to zero, we went to -0 because we literally had to start trying to get the money back people wanted their money back because they didn't get what we sold them, and they felt missold. It was obviously all my fault, and I had everybody coming at me, my staff. Oh, this is your fault. I'm like, I didn't do this. Oh, the advertisers are not happy. They want their money back. You haven't published their magazine. I said, okay. So everywhere, investors. The neighbour next door. Why is your office open? We're supposed to be in lockdown. Wherever you turned, you had somebody complaining and moaning to you during that period. And I got good at being able to just switch off and go, okay, there's too much. So I wear the T-shirt now. It says "Starve the noise." I want good news only. I was looking at the television screens and all I could see was deaths, negative news everywhere. And I went, that's it. I'm not watching anymore. I'm going to focus on the positive things. What can I control? So when I woke up that next morning, I said, well, what can I control? Then I went back to 2008 and went, when everybody else was sacking people, I was walking around saying, I can give you a job, I can give you a job. I couldn't do that this time because I was in the same boat as everybody else. They were all like, we're all locked down. But I thought, I can keep my team sane, because this is only going to be a couple of weeks, right, Eric? We'll be out of this in 6 weeks.
That's what we all thought, yeah.
6 weeks. So let me keep them engaged. So I started phoning around some of my friends, people I knew, some people I didn't know, some famous people. And they came in and talked to my team. I had Tim Grover. Tim came in and he was the coach to Michael Jordan. And it was, come on, guys, you can't mess around. Give us a kicking. I had Eric Edmeades, who was like a health and wellness guru. And he gave us great insight well ahead of what the media were giving us in terms of what, if you get sick, how you should look after yourself, what you should do. We did breathing exercise and Wim Hof. Alison Levine, who climbed Everest, I'll never forget the words she said to me. She goes, when you're crossing the South Pole, it's all white. You can't see anything. Sometimes you're going back a mile before you go forward a mile. She goes, it's just one foot in front of the other. Just put one foot in front of the other. And that's what I did. I went, right, okay, I just literally deal with the next hour. And these guys came in, and whilst I thought they were helping my team, actually they were helping me. They were giving me insight and knowledge and a way of thinking that I hadn't, that's what I said earlier, which is I was learning something new every single day. Jordan Belfort came in and boomed. James Harris from $1 Million Listing was probably, he was the James Bond equivalent of property. And, he inspired me with just how positive he'd become. And when you listen to so many positive messages and you learn so much about brain science, love, gratitude, appreciation, all these softer skills and harder skills, you start to think, oh, I'm a better person. This is better. And that carried on until about October. And I kept as many people whole. And then come October, it was like, it's not me, it's you. I'm sorry. I've got to go. I've got to go and make some money. I love you very much. I love what you've done for me, but I'm out of here. And there was nothing I could do to save them. When you ask about the rock bottom sandwich, I call it a rock bottom sandwich. That's when rock bottom lands on top of rock bottom and you get a rock bottom sandwich. My friend Sonia told me that, and I love it because it is, you just don't think it can get any worse. And then suddenly this comes on top of it. And one by one, they started to leave. And these people who've been here so long, and they were the ones that helped me build the business, were walking out the door, including my own son. My son said, well, I'm going off and I'm going to start my own business. I said, oh, go on then.
Man, do you think it's easier for leaders to learn when they are on rock bottom versus when they're on top?
No, 100%. But it takes time to figure it out. When you have to think about it in years to come, not now. There is stuff that's happened now, which I'm obviously, because I've done the book and I've documented the diary of it all, I've gone back and reflected on it. But if I hadn't done that exercise, it would have just been a little bit of turmoil in my life. Now, when I'm looking back at 1993, when I was 1988, when I was in the property, it's only now dawning on me what I learned in that experience.
Wow. So do you take a keen interest in helping up and coming entrepreneurs and even mentoring them, probably saving them from some of the things that you went through?
I mean, my son is my favorite example, just because he left here and he went and started his own little agency selling an influencer agency, and now he's the fastest growing influencer agency in the UK. So I'm proud on two fronts. Proud because he's my son and he's doing brilliantly and he's taking on the same mantle, but also he's playing out a lot of the same playbook that I did, which was about treating people fairly, giving them adventures, taking them on adventures and having fun, having fun at work. There's no point coming to work. And this is my, probably the message I really want to get across. I wanted to create an environment where I wanted to come to work. And then if everybody else felt that way, they like, oh, we like this place. And, it's challenging, but it's fun. It's good, but it's tough. That was okay. That was the sort of person that I wanted to work with me, because I would give them the best of whatever I could to help them. Anything to help them. If they needed a deposit for a house, if they needed anything, food for the fridge, they were hit a hard month or whatever, I would support everybody. And, I've got enough stories that I could tell you about so many people whose lives I wanted to help.
Simon, I think you're my brother from another mother, man. My goodness, man, we got some of the same stories. One thing, like we talked about some of the younger folks, and you mentioned making it a place that even you would want to work at too. But we talked about some of the younger folks, and my question is, I heard something from another Simon Sinek, and he was saying, like some of the impatience of some of the young people. Within 8 months, they're like, "Oh, I'm leaving because I feel I hadn't, made an impact." And he's like, "You only been here 8 months," and the impatience of some of the young people. Do you feel like the whole social media age, the YouTube age, has all fed them something different, and they're not getting that kind of grit that we were used to?
When I look at Benji, my son's business, they're all 23 and they're all working stupid hours, long hours. They're all committed. When I was 23, I was like that. But I had friends who weren't. I had friends, they weren't Gen Z. They were just lazy bastards then, or they played video games or whatever. The video game boys went on and did really well. But we all had different friends, who had different drive to us. I always tell this story. My first job, I got a BMW, a Motorola brick, and a Dex sound system. When my son was 21, he got a BMW convertible, much nicer than mine. He gets himself, obviously, the latest Apple and a Sonos sound system. So what's changed? 25 years later, there's nothing changed, right? We all want the same things. So I don't think as much has changed as possible. I think social media has accelerated some of the success stories and not highlighted enough of the failures. And I think that's where the issue is. It's all very well for Gary Vee to stand there and go, do all this and be all nice and but he's a multimillionaire. He's not worried about where the next meal will come from. He's not having to live on beans and toast for the next 2 weeks, right? So it's easy for me to say all this even now, because I'm not in that position where I'm not worried about anything.
Sam, what are some? You mentioned the 3 companies that you had in the beginning where you said you'd failed or failed forward. What are 3 things that you felt that you failed on that you wish you had done right?
Ooh. I probably wished I'd been a more present father in the early days of my kids growing up. I was absent quite a lot. I was a Disneyland dad and spent way too much money on holidays, but not really enough time being present. I never forget that I was lying in bed reading a story, and I had the book in one hand and my phone in the other hand, and my son going, "That's not the right words," and I'm going, "Yeah, it won't be a second," and trying to text at the same time. And I went, "This has got to stop." I always felt behind. I always felt like I was behind. No matter how much I did, I always felt I was behind. I think those are the 2 things. With business, I don't think there's any failing in business. I think they've all just been a moment of learning and growth. I'm not worried about, did I let somebody down? Did I let that opportunity go? Because it's a sliding doors. I don't know what the alternative looks like.
Yeah. Well, what are 3 things that you're really proud of, Simon?
Well, I'm proud of how, despite my absentee father, and how much my boys are growing up to be good, kind, generous individuals. I went to a charity event with my son last week, and he donated 5 times more than I did. So I went, I've done a good job here. I'm proud of this business. I'm proud of the work that we do to help our clients, to help our communities we work in. We're in Miami, London, and Singapore, and we make sure we give back as much as we take. And I'm proud that a boy from Cardiff who didn't really have an education or left school at 16 was able to rise to a place where I could help as many people as I do.
Well, how do you get those relationships back? Because like you mentioned, people were calling you, investors were calling you. Where do you go from there on your way back up? How do you rebuild those relationships? How does that work, Simon?
I'll never forget at the at board meetings, I used to have a line which was, "I don't want you to lose sleep, 1 ounce of sleep over this business." And for a long period of time, I couldn't make that statement. I kept saying to them, "You're going to have to lose some sleep over it, because I am, and I'm pretty stressed out by it." So,
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not sure that both of us worrying is going to make the situation any better, because I'm worrying enough for both of us. But and then I'll never forget the next time I got back to a board meeting, and the lights were back on, and I went, "You don't have to lose any sleep anymore." And it got such a roar of laughter of like, "Thank you." And there were lots of times that I didn't feel appreciated by a lot of people, that I was sitting here rowing this boat trying to get it to shore, and I was accused of being the captain of the Titanic at one point. I'm like, the Titanic wasn't my fault. The Titanic was his fault. He crashed it. I've saved this blooming boat. But I felt like I was rearranging the deck chairs, and at times it was lonely. It was lonely at the top, and I write in the book about my nervous breakdowns, my depression, my sadness, my loneliness, how COVID just literally tore me apart, because I couldn't walk from 3 yards without falling asleep, because it was just, my body was physically gone. Everything I'd had left had gone into trying to save this. And when COVID got me, it said, "That's it, son. You've got to relax now. There's no more fighting."
Yeah. No, man. Wow. I mean, damn. I mean, how do you continue to feed yourself now? And how do you continue to learn now? Because we have to still learn.
I made a very conscious decision right after COVID, after I got COVID, which is July 15th last year. And I went, right, I need to design the life I want to have. I'm not going back to Philo, first in, last out. I'm not going back to being the smartest man in the room. I'm not going back to lots of things.
That's powerful.
I'm going to change what the business is. I'm going to change who I am. I'm going to change my calendar. As an example, 3 days a week I go to the gym. I go out and I have a really nice breakfast on my own. I'm learning in the gym. I have podcasts, books, whatever it is in my head. Same over breakfast, same on my way to work. That, those are my really big learning days, where I'm constantly listening to successful people, startups, anybody who I feel that can inspire me with their message. Yeah. And I'm no longer stressed about anything. And I started diarising from January this year on LinkedIn. If anybody wants to go back and have a look, that I've actually delivered what I said I would deliver. Because you see these things in books. And remember, when you write a book, the bloke writing that book was broken. Most broken men giving advice to other people. I was a broken man. But wow. Do you know what? I diarised it on LinkedIn. Every month I do an update. So probably in a couple of days' time, I'll do a July update. And, every month there's been, some people have said to me, "I won't do what you did in a month in my lifetime." I've added in my bucket list to make sure that every month I do a bucket list event. I'm going to push myself to live in the best life I can and not be stressed out by life, and learning every single day, learning more and more how I can get better at what I do.
Wow. So I want to talk about that book, but was writing the book like therapy for you? Like just getting it all out? Did it help you?
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me, did you know you were going to write the book? And I really didn't. I just did what I thought I was doing, but I'm a journaler, so I kept journaling what I was doing and just kept writing notes. This is what happened this month. And as it got longer and longer, I started going, actually, I just had 50 conversations with 50 powerful people. Those messages alone are a worthy entry fee. Then you're listening to a man who's gone through the ups and downs on his rock bottom sandwich, on his roller coaster of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you're going through a little bit of trouble now, if your business is doing really well now, if your business is doing okay now, I don't care, because there's something in there for every single one of you. And I know that's a catch-all, and it's really, I don't love that, but it's actually true, because business is never, you think you're sailing, we're always one deal away from being fucking rich.
Oh yeah.
And one deal away from bankrupt.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. I mean, you could be doing very, very well, but then all of that can change overnight,
And if you're not prepared, and I think that's what the book gives you, it's called Equanimity, because it's the process of remaining calm under pressure. And I think that every person needs these lessons, because if you're running a business and you're not prepared, you're not worried about nothing. One, that's very good, but you probably shouldn't be reading anyway. But the truth is that you need three things: somebody who's done what you've done, someone who's going where you want to go, and somebody who's going to add energy, enthusiasm, passion, encouragement, support, mentorship, guidance. And if they don't add those things, then you shouldn't even be asking them for advice.
That's strong. What are some things you want people to take away from it? Because people are going to be in different mindsets when they read it. The guy who's making $300 million a year, he doesn't think he has a care in the world. But the guy who's going to file bankruptcy, he's trying to think of, how do I get back to where I was? What do you want them to take away from that book, Simon, when they read it?
I want to take you back to 2013, and we got ourselves in trouble with this digital over investment. And I sat in our boardroom, and there was a lady from Deloitte, the accountancy firm, and she looked at me in the eye and she said, "Look, Simon, you're not capable of running this business. You're not capable of saving this business." And I just took a deep breath and went, that's the most motivating thing I've heard today. Got up and walked out. She'd just come from Tesco's, which is our Walmart, where she'd been dealing with a fraud case, right? And she was brought in because she was the body language expert. And she, I don't know why. I mean, we owed them back $2 million. It was nothing. We hadn't even missed a payment. It was just, everyone panics. People panic. And I'm thinking, why did she come in here? And she must have gone back and gone, can't get a read on him. I really can't get a read on him. It doesn't make any sense, that guy. And I use that a lot. I say, life is nonsense. It's nonsense. If it makes sense, if it's logical, probably not a good idea. It's the things that don't make any sense as sometimes where the magic sits. And from that day onwards, I just doubled the profitability of the business every single year. And it was a motivator. So when someone says...
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, she's telling you can't do something, so you're going to be like, I'm going to show you. So you did it.
And you need that. I've had people walk out of here because I've criticised them. I'm saying, no. You've taken the wrong approach. You've just run away from the problem. Face it. Fear is face everything and rise, not face everything and run. You've got to face the problems. You can't run away from life. That's what I would say to the youngsters today. It's like, okay, it's tough. Okay, it's challenging. You might not like it. And, we've all been spoiled. I know I argue with my wife over this when she phones up and starts having a go at the teachers. And I'm saying, that's the world we're living in today. I had somebody's parent phone up and say, "You're being horrible to my Johnny." I said, "Sorry, love, those days are over. You can't phone up anymore, complain. He's a big boy now." It really is it's just become, like you say, woke or soft or whatever it is. And it is still a real world. And, if it's going to get to the point where nobody can do anything or make any decisions, well, it's going to be a very boring place to live.
Simon, what do you see ahead for you for the next few years?
Oh, I promise you, I've literally just come off a call with my senior group, and I've never been this excited. they said, a client said to me yesterday, I've seen all the numbers on the, from the TSA that, they're beating 19. I said, do you know what that means? And they go, well, no, it's beating 19. I said, no, that means that's a record ever. The best numbers of travelers ever. Beating 19. 19 was the highest peak. So we are just entering a whole new realm of travel high. More people are traveling. The airlines can't cope. The airports can't cope. So what should I be worried about recession? Should I be worried about everything that's coming around about inflation? No, the world is, people are still going to go on their holidays. They can't get out of the airports. The airports are limiting the amount of people that can travel. So I'm sitting there going, this is my nirvana moment. This is what I'm waiting for. The revenge travel is coming back so fast. And I've created a marketplace for travelers. So if you want to reach travelers, be in Asia, Africa, Europe, United States, Canada, South America, you want to reach travelers. And why do you want to reach travelers? One, because it's the fastest moving consumer. They spend the most amount of money. Sure. They have more disposable income than anybody else. And I've created this marketplace, and I've worked with airlines, airports, brands. We have more data on traveler behaviors. We have more data on where they're going, where they're booking, where they're searching. And we've got the most amazing TV network at the airports that has a truth and positivity channel. No more negative news, no more horrible news. It's a beautiful network, and you must get Woody on and talk about that, because he's much better at talking about that than I am.
That's one thing. You bring up the data too. Years and years ago, you didn't have the kind of data that you have now, especially on travelers. Do you see that as a huge advantage for you now versus way back then?
Oh, 100%. And nobody knew what to do with it. People, I remember giving a client 20,000 email addresses or something. I said, we've picked these up for you. What do I do with them? I said, I don't know. Do you want them? No, I don't want them. Okay, throw me the bin then. And it was bizarre when we started. And that was less than a decade ago, where we were sort of I'm not quite sure what to do with this information that I'm getting back from you. We ran a competition and we got lots of people interested in your product. Do you want this? Nah, just give the prize away. Today we're running amazing competitions where we've got amazing data, and we can retarget them, or we can give them discounts on the products. We're being far more creative. Yeah. When you go to an airport now, if you sign on to the Wi-Fi, we promote a lot of our advertisers on the Wi-Fi. You then get in, you watch you. We then know where you're flying to, so we can retarget you. If you get on an aeroplane, we've still got a few magazines left in the world. We've still got United, Virgin, Eurowings, and Malaysia. So only 4 airlines of our 36 that we had before the pandemic. But those 4 clients, they've stayed loyal to us, and I appreciate them very much as well.
Good. Now, I'm going to give you 2 different people, and I want you to advise these 2 different people. You ready? Top shelf CEO. He is at 300 million a year. He's not prepared. What do you tell him?
Get prepared. I think why is he not prepared? What's he not prepared for?
He's not prepared for what could come. He's not prepared for even a rainy day because he can see nothing happening wrong.
Yeah.
It's very hard to talk sense into someone who's already succeeding. You know what I mean? The ones who want to buy the most are the ones that can't. But this person, he's at 300 million. What do you tell him? His mindset is in the clouds right now.
It's time to get another job. That's what I'll tell him. There's no advice for anybody who's not close enough to their business, not aware of what's going on in their own corporation. No matter how big it is, you can say, oh, it's such a big corporation, I don't know everybody. You do, you can. I had 300 people in 5, 6, 7 offices, and they all knew me, and we were, we'd win together, we'd lose together, we'd celebrate together. It was really important that I got around and made sure that everybody knew what was going on. They saw my vision. So if there's no vision, there's no plan, there's no drive to be whatever they want to be, then You're just turning up to work, getting a paycheck. I'll give you a really good example. 4 people, we got a new team here of people just started, and I just didn't feel like they were gelling. So I pulled them all in yesterday and I said to them, tell me about him. Has he got any brothers or sisters? Where does he live? They could not answer the basic question about each other. And I said, okay,
Wow.
tell me about me. How many kids have I got? 2, 3? Okay. And I kept asking questions and they didn't have the answers. And I went, why are you here? You don't care about the people you work with. You don't care about the company you work for or me. You just come to get a paycheck. I tell you what, why don't you go home? I'll send you your paycheck. You don't need to come in. We won't lose anything. And I felt so frustrated that we'd let them down. We'd let 5 new people they've only been here 5 minutes, but I hadn't done enough in that training and that preparation to make sure that they cared enough about each other that they wanted to know it. My best friend, who I went out to dinner last night, I met when I was 17 years old at my very first job. The relationships, the foundations that have been created through this business, marriages, babies, friendships that will outlast me, that is so important. And that's why this, I'm reading all about this work from home and the mental health that's causing, because people are not building friendships and not building relationships. You can't.
That's right.
The cat and the screen. No, it's no good. You need the engagement. You need the love of the people around you and the people you meet at work. That's what's so important.
Now, the other person that I told you about, the guy who's not doing 300 million and he's not doing so well. What do you say to him, Simon?
How'd you build a house?
Foundation first.
Okay. That's what everyone says. Wrong answer. You build a house by going to an architect and saying, can you draw me a house, please? And then you say, okay, can you give me the plans? How do I build it? Then you go and find a builder. And then you go and do the foundations. You dig the foundations. People are forgetting 3 steps. And you need a lot of love to go into that, building that house to make it a lovely house. The first 3 steps are the ones that people miss because they're so busy trying to build amazing foundations. And most of them build businesses on crappy foundations. So they fall, that's why they collapse, because even the foundations aren't strong enough because they're not committed enough to their cause. And they do not have the vision and they do not have the plan. And by the way, that wasn't set up.
Damn, Simon. That was strong. Man. Wow. I'm blown away, man. I'm blown away by your honesty, and your vulnerability too. And I think a lot of people can learn from you. I think you can be a mentor to many, and I think in return, it's going to teach you something as well too. So, I enjoyed my discussion with you today, man. Let's tell people how to find that book. I want them to buy this book because they need it. I don't care if their business is not doing well or they're doing well. You need to get this book. Tell them where to find this book, Simon.
Equanimity. It's in every format. I actually think the Audible is my favorite. I have an English thespian who he and I went through the process of I really want you to get my pain across in this book. I want people to feel the pain that I was going through. So it's on Audible, it's on Kindle, it's on Amazon, hardback and softback. I've done every format this time, and I want people to feel the same that you felt today, which is that we're all human, right? We're all the same. Yes. Some of us have had better or worse experiences, and I've been through so many highs and lows. And because of that, I'm equipped to be able to help as many people as I can. It's my mantra. I want to leave everyone I meet better than I find them. I want them to not allow the logic to kill the magic. It's the magic that makes the difference. It just triggered another thing in my head, which is about opportunity as well. Because this is what I would say to that young guy, is that there are opportunities everywhere. How many times you've watched TV or, Shark Tank and you've gone, oh, I had that idea. I was going to do that when I was at school or whatever.
My wife did that recently. She said, that was my idea. I was like, well, you got to execute it,
and this is the way the world works. Is that was an opportunity that presented itself to you. She goes, I'm too busy doing this, looking after you, so I'm going to ignore that idea. So that idea goes down the road and finds somebody else who wants to love it. And that's how opportunities work. If you don't want to take care of those opportunities, somebody else is going to find it, take it, run with it, love it, and turn it into a business. And because most people are asleep at the wheel,
wow,
too busy scrolling up and down their Instagram feed, looking for inspiration and not being awake and aware and looking for the opportunities that are right there being presented to them every hour of every day. Who you hang around with, where you hang around, that's where the opportunities are everywhere.
I love it. I love it. Simon, are you awake and aware right now?
100%.
More
Bring
than you've
me
ever
more
been.
opportunity.
All right. Well, I want to go into what we call a lightning round. I want to just kind of ask you questions about different media. Just there's no right or wrong answer as we wrap up here. So I'll ask you like your opinion on different mediums, and you'll tell me, like I may say, what are your thoughts on radio? And you may say, love it, hate it, whatever it is. So I'm going to start. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. All right. Let's start with something really tough for you. Magazines.
Love them.
Radio.
Love it.
Television.
I think it's days. They need to reinvent it. Now, the television at the airport, amazing.
Billboard.
Good.
How about social media? We talked about that earlier. What do you think about social media?
I think it's really good. It's really good if you are. If you're really bad, it's bad for you.
That's a damn good point. A good simple one too. And what's your favorite social media of them all?
Instagram.
And Google Ads.
I was speaking to this lady the other day, and she said, I don't use Google Ads anymore. I said, why? She said, because it creates short-term relationships with customers. It's literally buy now because of this. And I went, I never actually thought of it like that. And
I never thought of that either.
So she goes, if I want to build long-term relationship with clients, why would I use Google Ads? And I went, anyway, I thought if I share with you, that's 2 people and now 3 people and all the listeners are going to go, they're going to think about it in a different way. That's how learning grows, right?
That's exactly how it grows. And I along the way, I know you must have had some really good mentors, Simon, to be where you are. And so those mentors that taught you, I want to tell them thank you. And also I want to thank you for being a guest. I want to thank our production company, Craft Creative, because they're actually going to be the ones to be able to put our podcast together and as a studio sponsor. Simon, you're amazing, man. You and I could talk all day, and I hope we stay connected through social and have some chats every now and then. So also want to tell everyone, thank you for giving us your most valuable asset, which is your time. That's the one thing you can't buy back, regardless of how much money you have. And if they feel this podcast has been a help to them, tell others about it, and also go online, like and subscribe. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. iHeart, Spotify, Google, Amazon, we're everywhere. And Simon, one more time, plug that book and tell people how to find you. I want them to know how to find you.
Go to Equanimity at Amazon, EQUANIMITY. It's someone told me today it was the mass read of the year. So I hope you listen. I hope you get it in Audible and listen to it, because then you'll really feel the emotions I had.
I can't wait to do that.
If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, you'll get my monthly updates. I will not stop doing that every single day, every single month this year. I don't want to make you jealous. I don't want to make you envious, but I'm going to push myself, and hopefully at some point on the journey, someone's going to reach out and help me. And I want to offer one more thing. If you're listening to this and you're struggling, or you're doing really well and you just want to have a conversation, reach out, send me an email, send me a text, send me a LinkedIn message, whatever. I will help anyone I have. I'm very good at clearing my inbox every single day, and I'm happy to help anybody, because when I needed help back in 2020 and all these people helped me, I really do believe in the law of reciprocity.
That's awesome. Simon, you're an amazing guest, man. And I want us to stay connected, okay? To our listeners out there, thank you. This is the AdCast.
Hey guys, I'm back. I hope that you enjoyed that episode of the AdCast. If you didn't, go online, give me a review, and tell me how you want us to make it better for you. And if you did, give us a 5-star rating anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. But I want to thank you for your most valuable asset. That's your time, and thank you for listening. Enjoy the AdCast, and stay tuned for another hot episode coming up soon.